So today we are going to explain about APIs and what are the types of APIs and how do we can integrate APIs with an UiPath tool using an RPA. Okay, so before we jump into the topic, so I just want to understand, or you guys to be understand what is an API. Okay, so basically in our programming language or in our day-to-day activities, so everybody is talking about APIs. It's like very common term and like very useful term in our day-to-day activities, right? Maybe it is in direct way or an indirect way. Okay, so API is an application programming interface, and which is a software intermittently that allows two applications to talk to each other. Okay, so each time you use an application like Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, or send an instant message or check the weather on your phone, you are using an APIs. Okay, so for example, another example is when you use an application on your mobile phone, the application connects to the internet and sends the data to the server. So, okay, it means the pages post back to the server. The server then retrieves the data and it interprets, performs the necessary actions and send it back to your phone. So the application then interprets the data and presents you with the information that what you wanted to readable way. So this is what an API does. All these actions happen via an API. So all this backend, how this server is interacting, how the client is responding, all this done by an APIs. Okay, so as a layman terms, imagine you are sitting at a table in a restaurant with a menu of choices to order from. Like you have some menu, and the kitchen is a part of the system, right? So that will prepare your order items. And what is missing is the critical part of your communication, your order to the kitchen and delivery your food back to your table. So that's where the waiter comes and tells you. So here the waiter is an API. Okay, so here the waiter is your messenger. Messenger, I can say that it's an API. So that takes your request or order and he or she tells the kitchen. So kitchen in the sense the system or the server. So it does what to do, and then waiter delivers the response back to you. Okay, so in this case the data can be your food. Okay, so this is one other example that day to day you are interacting with the with your activities and then kind of layman terms. Another example is that suppose you want to know the weather weather or like today's weather in. Okay, so what do? You no need to install a server. You no need to go to the prepare some satellite to check or monitor the weather information on globally. So you have you just open your phone and then it will show you like what is the weather today. Maybe it will forecast the data for 2 or 3 days also. So all these operations are done by the APIs nowadays. Okay, understood? Okay, so you might be having a question. Okay, you are getting a request and then you send the back to the server. Server send back to the data to the client. So, is there any security level that we can protect our data, or is there any possibility that our data can be hacked by somebody, or data can be treated as some kind of bad users? So, is there any kind of that? What is our security to our API? So yes, obviously APIs are more secure than normal things because in the APIs we will use security thing like authentications that we call it as authentication in the programming. There are three kinds of authentication like basic authentication and OAuth 1 and OAuth 2. So we will be talking in those topics in the later. later. So our primary focus is to, how we can integrate this APIs in a UiPath tool. How can how do we automate all these tasks, in the UiPath tool. So if you want to write, if you want to consume your API, in the basic programming, either in the .NET or Java, you might have to write some code, right? The same way in the UiPath also, you can use activities. You can use this tool to integrate or to consume those services. Okay, so we will see how do we can achieve it. Basically, there are 4 types of APIs are available. One is open APIs. It is also known as public APIs. Okay, so these are there is no restrictions to access this type of APIs because they're in the public. Okay, so some part of APIs like weather APIs, you can search in the Google. There are some weather APIs. If you can call them and you can get the weather report in particular country or particular region or particular place. Okay, and other one is partner APIs. Like a developer needs specific rights or license in order to access this type of API because they are not available in the public. So the partner APIs are, it's not accessible by the others. It is only for the developer restrictions. Okay. And other one is internal APIs, also known as private APIs. Only internal systems expose this type of APIs. Okay. So basically, these are usually designed for internal use within a organization. So the company uses this type of APIs among the different internal teams to be able to improve its product or services. The last one is composite APIs. So this type of APIs combine different kind of data and it serves other APIs. It is a sequence of tasks that runs synchronously as a result of our execution. Okay. Okay. Again, there are different kind of APIs based on the service. There are like SOAP request and then REST APIs. So if you want to keep on talking, there's like a big story on it. So we will talk later. Now, there are 2 main different functionalities. One is like creating an API. Other one is like using API, like using in the sense like we are taking that as a part of our service. I mean, we are not creating any API, but we are using that. We are reusing that service, so that we can call it as a like we are just for the client to that API. Okay. So in UiPath, we cannot create an APIs, but then we can use APIs as a kind of service. Okay. So let me share my screen. I will explain like how do we can use that services. So I'm opening the tool. So I'm going to create one sequence. So I'll call it as like API automation. So in order to automate the APIs, okay, so we want some kind of activities, right? So that activities are inbuilt in the inbuilt in web activities, UiPath.web.activities. This package you have to install in your system from the managed packages. By default, it will not be available. So, but since I have already installed in that package in my machine, so that is why I can able to see this request. Okay. So before going to explain, so I already opened one website. This is called gorest.co.in. This website helps you to do more practice on the APIs. So it will give you all APIs, like you can perform all CRUD operations. CRUD in the sense you can create, delete, or you know, update the request, or any kind of CRUD operations that you can perform. It's all freeware. So you can use this APIs without having any issues. Okay, so these are the free versions that are available in the website. So this basically, so you see here, this is one resources. So to get all the resources, there is a users API, and to get all the posts, there's a post API, all the comments. If you can use this, you will get all kind of information. Okay. Okay, so this HTTP request, this activity enables you to perform specific, specified, enables you to perform an HTTP request to a specified web API. When you drag and drop this, activity, okay, this window, the request wizard will be open. Okay, you have to give your endpoint URL. So endpoint URL in the sense the point, the URL to which you want to make the request. Okay, the point which you want to make the request. Suppose in this, in this example, I want to get all the users. I want to get all the users from the, from an API. So that is why I want to use, so that is why I'm using this API. So this URL, I can call it as a endpoint URL. Just paste this. Okay. And so here there is some timeout option. Okay, so that default is a 6,000. So it specifies the amount of time to wait for an activity to run before an exception is thrown. So the default value is 6,000 millisecond, which means 6 seconds. Okay, so client certificate, this is not, not applicable for this moment. But then client certificate means the location in which the client certificate file is stored. So you have to give the full path if it is applicable. If it is not applicable, you have to ignore it. And here there are some request methods. Here you see default is a get, right? The request method, it all depends on your request. It all depends on your request, what kind of request that you are making with the API. Suppose I want to retry the users. Okay, so retry, I want to retry in the sense read the users information from a API. So to read, we will use get request. To read some action, we will use get request. Okay, so we will use get request. Suppose I want to create an user on the API. I want to create an user using an API. Then we will use put. The request method should be put if the if the particular action should be created. Okay, so if suppose I want to delete some user, or if I want to delete some particular kind of information from an API, then we will use delete. Okay, so delete is used to delete operation. And there is one more patch. If patch or put. Okay, so these two are useful when you want to modify some information on an API. Let's say there is some user, you by using an API, you want to update or modify that user information. Then you will use these methods. Okay, so for this instance, I want to read the user information. I want to get all the information of a users. So that is why I'm putting the request method as get. Okay, so here another one is accept response as. So which means the format in which to receive the web server response. Okay, the format which you want to retrieve the web server's response. Okay, when you make the client, right, when you make a request from client to server, right, client will give you some response. So that response we call, we are talking here. So there are two types. One is XML and the JSON. Okay, so these two formats only available because the web application will understandable only in these two formats, either an XML or a JSON. Okay, so I'm selecting as a JSON. Okay, I'm selecting as a JSON. Okay, and then authentication you have to provide. Authentication you have to provide in this format. Suppose if you give simple HTTP, you have to give the username and the password. So if you want to give the simple HTTP method or simple HTTP option, you have to give username and the password. Why authentication is required? Because unlike web applications, RESTful APIs are usefully stateless, which means sessions or cookies should not be used. Okay, so therefore each request should come with some sort of authentication credentials. A common practice is used to send a secret access token with each request to authenticate the user. Okay, so we have to give some secret access token key for each request for an authenticated user. Since the access token can be used to uniquely identify and authenticate an user. Okay, so if you give some secret access token, which means the user is authenticated, he can access that API and without having any issues. Okay, so API request should always be sent via HTTPS to prevent main in the middle attacks. So in order to prevent a main in the middle attacks, we have to give the authentication. So there are, as I talked previously, there are two kinds of authentication. One is HTTP basic authentication. The access token is sent as a username, and the password. Okay, and OAuth 2. The access token is obtained by the consumer from an authorization server. Okay, so in order to send this API server. Okay, so this is a protocol. Okay, so this example I'm taking as a OAuth token. Okay, so I'm just deleting this, and so these are the this is my API, right? So in order to get my bearer token, so this platform is giving here, if you click on this, it's giving an access token. Automatically it is generating an access token. So this access token is my bearer token. Okay, so this access token is my bearer token. So just click on here. So here you see authorization. There, this token and that token are both are same. So here you see it is suffixed with the bearer, which means this is the bearer token that I'm talking previously. Just copy it. Okay. And go to headers. Click on argument. So you have to give the parameter as authorization, and the direction is always in the in. And here you have to give the value in the double quotes. Okay. Okay. So you are given, you have given the authorization. Now, so these are the options in the API, like body. You have to send the body if it is applicable, and the header information. So here I'm passing a bearer token as a header, and then here you see there is output. So under the output there are again headers and result and the status code. Okay, so if your request as a header, then you have to give the header information here, and so here the result. So result, you have to create one variable. Okay, so I'm creating a one variable, and I'm making the variable name as API results. Okay, and the status code. So status code in a sense, so when you call this request, so it will generate some kind of codes. Okay, this we can call it as HTTP status codes. So there are couple of status code for if your request is valid, or if request is don't have any kind of issues, then we will expect 200. 200 means okay, everything like work as we expected. Okay, so likewise 400. 400 means bad request. This could be caused by various actions by the user, such as providing invalid inputs or invalid information, like JSON data in the request body is not wrong, or providing invalid action parameters, and so on. So basically 400 is a bad request. So if you get status code as 401, which means your request is failed due to authentication. Okay, so you are providing wrong username and the password, or maybe there's some authentication issues. Okay, so and other one is 404. If the requested resource does not exist, then you will get 404 status code. So suppose if you get 500 as a response code or status code, so that means the server is down. You are using that service, but the server is down due to some internal issues. So in general we call it as a internal server error. This could be caused by internal program, or anything related to the server. Okay, so here I'm also creating a variable, a part of okay, so the variable name is status code. Okay, and my result, API result, is stored in a variable name API result of type string. So these are my results, variable that I've created. One is API result and is status code. Okay, now, so as we talked previously, always API will produce two kind of outputs, either in a JSON or an XML format. So we have selected the output as a JSON format. So obviously we will see our data in a JSON format. Okay. So now you cannot, you cannot directly write that objects into text file or Excel because JSON, as you see, is like a parent and a child relationship. Like you will see so many objects in a single JSON format. There are multiple objects that you see. So in order to decode or in order to read it, you have to convert server readable language, or I mean, you have to create, you have to decode that into normal string format. So that conversion from, from JSON to string conversion, we call it as a deserialization. Okay, so deserialization in the sense you have to conversion of uh, JSON format to a string format. Okay, so that we call it as a deserialization. Okay, so we'll see how we can do that. So take one assign activity. Left side, create a variable called JOBJ. So the variable type should be JObject. Search here as JObject. Click on OK. Now here, this is the JObject dot pass of your string. So what is your string? Your string is an API result. Okay, so you're passing JObject to a string. Okay, so I'm going to the website. So in this website also you can directly see the result. Just click on this, and so this is your data. This is your response. You see here the status code is 200. Okay, okay, and this is your data JSON result. As you see here, there are many objects, but I want to retrieve all the user information and I want to put them in a data table. Okay, because there are multiple records or multiple transactions for each request. Okay, so that is why I want to create one data table for that. In that data table, I want to add all the users information. So my my primary object is I want to first get what is the each user information. So this is basically all user information. In that, what is my one user information, one transaction data. So from here to here, just I'll put the cursor. So from here to here, this is one user information. Okay, so from here to here. Okay, and if I want to read this part of information, I want to read it from the parent node. I want to read it from the parent node. I'm just copying it, going to the UiPath, taking for each activity. So here what I do is, so JObject of, so here you have to give the parent path. My parent path is result. Okay, and then so next step is we want to collect all ID, first name, last name, gender, date of birth, so on. So okay, so let's focus on the ID. Okay, let's focus on the ID part. Okay, so we'll take a message box. Okay, and then here item dot, okay, item dot. So as you see here, so type argument of this for each activities is a object that you have to convert into J token. Then only we can see the methods in the J object. Okay, and then press Control space. Then there is a method called select token, and then within the brackets you have to give the path of the string. Okay, so what is your object? Your objective is to get the ID information. So this is your path. Okay. Okay, just save it and then execute. So all the IDs are coming. These are all user IDs. Okay. So what is our main motto? Our main motto is to extract the user information from a JSON and put it in an Excel file. Okay. So to create an Excel file, what we need a data table. Okay. So for that, I'm going to create a skeleton of a data table. So using which activity? Using build data table activity. Okay. So here I'm just exposing a column information, kind of employee ID of type string, and the other one is first name, similar way, last name, gender, date of birth, and what else is there? So date of birth, email ID, phone number, and then address. These are sufficient for me. So if you want to add, keep on add, you can keep on extract the information. Okay. Email ID and phone number and address, and there is one more column called status, whether it's active user or inactive user. Okay, click on OK, and the output, press Ctrl K and create a variable called empdt. So this is the data table that I've created. Only header information are present in this data table. Now what I do, I'll take one assign activity, press Ctrl K. I'm going to take a counter variable called row counter. So here, what is a counter? So how do we get? So employee dt dot rows dot count. Okay. So I'm going to put -2 because for dynamically we want to add the rows. So that is why I'm taking -2, because I also included the header information. So the next time when the recorded is added, it has to added from the empty row. Okay. So that is why -2. So now here there is an activity called add data row activity. So which will enables the system to add data dynamically into the rows. Okay. So this is an employee DT data table, and here employee DT dot new row. Okay. So then take one more assign activity. So here the left side employee DT dot rows of, okay, so index you have to give. So for first time index should be 0, right? So the next time it will be incremented by 1. So how do we can take, we have to take the index. So what is our index here? Our index is a row counter. Okay. And dot item of, so what's your column? So this is most important. Whatever the column name that you have given here, it should be same as the column name in the asana. Okay. So the column name should be employee ID, something like this. Okay, just pass this. So we have to do it for all. Okay, so we'll come one by one. So to avoid such confusions, we'll rename the activity. So I'll say set employee ID. So, and then another one is we have to set as that first name. Okay. And so what is the first name here? First name should be this, and just copy paste. Delete this and just copy paste. Set first name. Another one is, this is for second name. Sorry, I mean last name. Okay. Similar way for gender. So change the default display name to set last name. Okay. And here set gender. And this is for date of birth. So what is the object name here? DOB. Okay. So here we have to change the path to DOB. And here I've given as DOB caps. Okay. So copy it first for some other. Copy, paste. Because we have 3-4 rows to be added. So here DOB is done, and what else is pending? We have to add email address. So in the left hand side, it should be email ID. And then this one is for phone number. So phone number is this one. Okay. Click on OK. And the left hand side, it should be and then address. So here it should be address. Okay. So address is done. And the last one is status. Okay. So what is the status column name? So status column is status only. So here also it should be the same way, because these are a case sensitive. You should have to give the exact name. This is status. Okay. So we have added all. Okay. Now we have to write the data table to a Excel. So for that, I'll create one Excel in my desktop. Go to Excel, call it as a API result. Okay, so this is my empty Excel. So here I'm going to add the data. So for that I'm using write range activity of workbook related activity. Just drag and drop that, and I'm going to give the path. Okay, so this is my Excel. So, and also I'm want to see the headers in the Excel file. So that's why I check this tick box. And what is my data table? My data table is employee data. So I'm going to execute this. Okay, so it says that there is no row at position -2 because maybe it is due to this counter. So -1 also, I'll just delete this. Now we'll see. Okay, put -2 here now. Okay, so it is added employee ID. So there is some issue with the um, token. Hmm. Okay, so now let me run and see it. Okay, so the execution has been ended. So I'm going to open now. So the workbook sheet. So this is my data. So there are 20 records in it. So all has been extracted into a Excel. Okay. So these are all my user information. So now the get method is done. So if I want to create an user, okay, so we have to use the post method. So that we will see in the later session. Okay, thank you for watching. Thank you.